Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's MBDA Cares webinar, PPP Loan Application Walkthrough, what business owners should know before applying. My name is Brittany Elkins, and I am the Program Manager for MBDA Cares. Today, we'll be hosting one of many of our webinars that have been designed to connect you with experts that will share COVID-19 related insights and best practices that you can implement into your day-to-day operations. Some of our past focuses, or focus areas, I should say, have included slowing the spread of COVID-19, cybersecurity for teleworkers, and the impact of remote work on mental and physical health. MBDA Cares was launched in June 2020 in response to the unpredictable impact of COVID-19 on minority and small businesses. We are committed to providing COVID-19 related support through educating, training, and advising business owners and their employees in Memphis and across the Mid-South, including the states of Tennessee, Arkansas, and Mississippi. Access to funding has been a great need for many business owners, large and small. The Paycheck Protection Program, is one of numerous opportunities available for funding. While many have received PPP during the first draw in 2020, others, especially small business owners, were unable to qualify. However, in the effort to ensure equitable relief to hard-hit small businesses and to make it a top priority, the Biden-Harris administration announced on February 22nd the expanded criteria for who can apply for the PPP loan. Now that includes sole proprietors, as well as independent contractors who claimed business loss in 2019, business owners who are defaulted on federal student loans, and individuals with non-fraud felonies in the past year. And also, under the expansion, there was a 14-day exclusivity period for businesses and nonprofits with fewer than 20 employees, and that ended actually yesterday. So this new expansion is a great news for business owners who did not qualify initially, and it's our goal to during today's webinar to share with you the recent changes and actually walk you through the application. So I hope that you are able to go in the chat and download those applications and print those off, because later in the presentation, we're going to walk you step by step through the actual PPP loan application. I'd like to say welcome again to all of you, and thank you for joining us today. Now I will turn over the presentation to Ms. Joselle Booker, the President and CEO of MMBC Continuum. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. We are so happy that each of you were able and are able to join us this morning. Welcome to this first PPP loan application walkthrough session that we're having today. We hope that you find this information very useful to you and help you in this process, whether you are a first-time PPP or first-time potential PPP loan applicant, or if you participated in the first round and you are now interested in participating in this round. So, and for those of you that are not familiar with the MMBC Continuum, I want to share with you a little bit about who we are and what we do in this community and across the region. Well, first and foremost, we are an independent consulting agency that strictly is designed and focused on minority and women-owned businesses. We operate under a supply-demand model, which means the corporations in this community create the demand for goods and services, and the minority and women-owned businesses that are members of our organization create the supply. The other thing that we do is that, as you heard Brittany talk about the MBDA Cares program and when it was launched, the MMBC Continuum is a proud operator of a minority business development agency business center. We have operated a business center here in Memphis since 2012. And the goal of the business center is to connect ethnic minority-owned businesses to contract opportunities, to new markets, to capital, and provide business consulting to help those businesses grow, to create and retain jobs in our community. We host an annual economic development forum each year, and I hope many of you that are participating in this webinar today has participated in our economic development forums. And if you've not, check out our website for information about how to do that. We are a membership organization. We're a 501c6 organization. We have corporations that are members, as well as minority and women-owned businesses that are members. And so in order for us to fulfill our membership obligation to our corporate members, we connect them with minority and women-owned businesses that are certified as minority and women-owned businesses using federal regulations. And so as such, we provide 5 different certifications. We are a one-stop shop. So if there are any of you that have as a part of your organization's business strategy that you want to do business with local companies as well as federal agencies or local corporations, we certify businesses at one time to be a minority-owned business, a local small business if you want to do business with Memphis Light, Gas, and Water, a small business enterprise if you're interested in doing business with the city of Memphis. But if you are interested in doing business with the Airport Authority or MATA or any other state or federal agency, we provide a disadvantaged business certification. The minority-owned business certification will allow you to do business with both corporate entities as well as governmental entities that have as a part of their procurement process a supplier diversity goal. And then finally, we certify businesses as women-owned businesses. And these are businesses that are 51% owned, operated, managed, and independently controlled by white female. In order for us to do our work in this community, we have a large strategic partnership network of entities that we work with. Over the past several years, since 2018, our members have reported revenue in excess of $2.7 billion based on the connections that our organization has been able to provide to those members. They've also created over 12,500 jobs. And we are in the business of growing minority and women-owned businesses to scale so that they can, as I said before, create jobs in this community and retain the jobs that they have. That's a little bit about us, who we are as an organization. We look forward to doing business with and assisting any type of business over the various programs and services that we offer in this community. So again, if you're new to MMBC and what we do, as well as MBDA, please visit us at our website. As I said before, the MMBC Continuum is an operator of a minority business development agency business center. And as a result of that, we received additional funding last year with the approval of the CARES Act to operate and promote a CARES initiative, which is what Brittany shared with you earlier, what we offer through that initiative. Also been an operator of an MBDA business center that makes us part of a huge national network of 25 centers across the United States in large metropolitan areas that have high concentrations of ethnic minorities. As a result of that, one of our sister operators, the Enterprise Center in Philadelphia, shared with the business centers across the network a presentation that they had designed, and it was prepared by Morgan Lewis, which is a law firm in Philadelphia. And so what we're going to provide to you today in some form is an adaptation of that presentation that was originally provided to the business owners in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and prepared by Morgan Lewis. Just a little background on the first round of Ppp loans. And there may be many of you that are participating today that under the first round received some of those funds. So one of the things that we wanted to share today with you, because the second round, as Brittany said, was really focused on trying to provide assistance to smaller businesses. So these are some just facts for you. So in the first round of the Ppp loan process, banks in the state of Tennessee, and this data is primarily for banks in the Memphis and Shelby County area. And during the first round of PPP, you will see that the largest, when you look at businesses by organizational structure, that 28% of the loans under $150,000 were provided or were granted to sole proprietors, with the next largest group being LLCs, followed by corporations. And so we know that with this push, we're really trying to increase the number of smaller businesses that can participate in this process. And so you see independent contractors, only 9% of the loans went to independent contractors, and 12% went to self-employed people. So this second round of loans and funding is really trying to increase the number of independent contractors and sole proprietors and the smaller businesses to take advantage of this funding. Next slide. And a little more information about those loans that were provided to entities that showed that their companies were registered in the state of Tennessee. There were 60 lenders that participated in that. They collectively awarded 13,567 loans. And the result of that was $432 million of cash infusion in our community. And the average loan amount was $31,800. And so we share this with you just to talk about the impact that these loans have on the economy in our local community. And one of the things that we want to do as a result of this presentation today is to increase, number one, the awareness of this program, and also to provide some assistance so that the process does not seem overwhelming, and that you as business owners understand the documents that you need, which we're going to walk through. But we really want to increase awareness and information about this process to make it less overwhelming to you, and hope that you will, after this presentation today, begin the process to apply for these PPP loans. Aiding us and assisting us today in this presentation, we have some contributors. One is Herb Wilkins. Herb is with WABTS Financial and Tax Advisors. He will be a presenter walking you through the presentation. One of the things that you saw in the promotion of this event is that during the Q&A session, we will have breakout rooms. And in each breakout room, we want smaller groups of business owners. So as you are listening to the presentation, we hope you've all downloaded and printed a copy of the application so that you can jot down, take notes, mark areas that you have questions about or you need clarification. We will have breakout rooms where we'll have Jonathan Naics, who is the president of Memphis Consulting Group, will be answering questions and leading the discussion in that breakout room. We'll also have Aaron Davis. Aaron is with the Tennessee Small Business Development Center. Aaron will be in another room, as well as Herb Wilkins, who is a presenter along with me today. He will be yet in another room. And so our intent is to have small groups in each room where you can ask your questions and get your questions answered. And so we want this, after the presentation of this, we want this to be a very robust and interactive session. So, and one of the other things that we've done, we've structured this so that business owners are the same types of business owners in each of the sessions that we have today. So it allows us to focus on the questions that you may have. We also have an individual monitoring the chat during the presentation. So throughout the presentation, if you have questions, please enter your questions in the chat. The chat is being monitored, and they will answer those questions either in the chat or those questions may be answered during the Q&A. But at any rate, feel free to enter your questions in the chat. So let's get started. And just a little background, as I said before, the original CARES Act was passed around this time last year. It was passed in March of 2020. And as you recall, the focus there was keeping people paid. And it provided paycheck protections, loan forgiveness, and small business contracting relief. And then in 2021, the Consolidated Appropriations Act was passed. That's the act that allows for this PPP funding that we're talking about today. It was passed in December. It was a $2.3 trillion spending bill that included funds for the coronavirus pandemic relief. There was a $285 billion there for the extension and expansion of the Ppp Loan program. And these are the dollars that we're talking about today. And so what this package does, and what it did, was it revived the Ppp loan, and it also it was designed to reopen and strengthen that program for first, and it allowed for second-time buyers. This program expires at the end of this month, or until all the funds have been used. So that's why it's very important that you take notes. We want this to be very informational so that you have enough time to apply for the loan and start that process prior to the end of the month. Next slide. And the next. The landscape of the PPP loan for round two. So as I said before, this is a new iteration of that. It is specifically designed to support smaller and minority-owned businesses that have struggled to gain access to the PPP loan funds during the first round. This legislation allocates $15 billion, one to community lenders, two to small depository lenders for the initial PPP and for the second draw. It earmarks $35 billion for first-time borrowers, $15 billion of which is to fund loans for the first time smaller borrowers with 10 or fewer employees or loans less than $250,000 in low-income areas. It apportions $25 billion for the second draw PPP loan for smaller borrowers with 10 or more employees or less than $200,000 in low-income areas. And so the SBA announced this new PPP loan. It started back January 11th for community financial institutions. And then it opened up for all lenders after that. And as I said, these funds are on a first come, first served basis until funds are no longer, or until they're no longer available. So the latest updates on the PPP, they wanted to ensure that it was more equitable relief to these hard hit small businesses. And Brittany shared with you that that was a priority for the Biden-Harris administration. She shared that with you. Sole proprietors as well as independent contractors who claimed the business loss in 2019 are now eligible to apply for the PPP loan. Herb is going to walk you through the importance of that and how that applies to the application process, as well as federal student loan borrowers are now eligible to apply, and individuals with non-fraud felonies in the past year are now eligible to apply. And she talked about the 14-day exclusionary period during her comments during the opening. And so now let's just take a look at the difference between the two loans and the first expansion and the second one. So first-time PPP loan borrowers, it was for those that had no more than 500 employees. This time it's no more than, for the second draw, no more than 300 employees, because they want to make it available to those that are a little smaller. And you have used, or you plan to use, the full amount of the original PPP, because the way the loan this was set up is that you could have applied under this new act for a first round, and if you use those funds for what you said you were going to use them for, you could then come back and apply for a second round. And the difference is 25% reduction in revenue in the first, second, and third quarter in 2020 relative to the corresponding quarter in 2019. Under the first draw, the maximum loan amount was $10 million. Under the second draw, it's $2 million. Loan forgiveness is non-taxable in the first and second round. Business expenses paid with the first-time PPP loan funds will be tax deductible, as well as those with the second. And the allocations are the same for the forgiveness requirements on both. So first-time PPP loans. Those loans are up to $10 million with a 1% interest rate. The amount is based on the lesser of $10 million maximum and 2.5 times the borrower's average monthly payroll for the last 12 months. And it excludes compensation for individuals within your organization in excess of $100,000. The SBA guarantees 100% of the loan during the periods provided, and the loan proceeds, what you can do with the loan funds: cover payroll, group healthcare benefits, mortgage interest payments, rent, utilities, other debt interest, and operations expenditures like software. It also covers property damage costs, supplier costs, and worker protection or PPP. PPP loan forgiveness, up to 100% loan forgiveness. The borrowers who receive a full loan forgiveness if they spend at least 60% of their loan fund on payroll costs over the period of their choosing, which is the covered periods that we talked about, between 8 weeks and 24 weeks. Reductions in loan forgiveness, greater than 40% used toward non-payroll costs. So reductions in headcount, reductions in salaries greater than 25%. PPP loans and applying for PPP. So who can apply? The following entities, how to apply. You can apply through an SBA 7A lender or through any federal insured depository institution, federally insured credit union, farm credit system institution that is participating. That's how you apply. Now, other lending institutions have also been approved and enrolled in the program. So the application contains 3 pages plus instructions, and these were released on March 3rd, 2021. Now, who can apply? So if your organization has been affected by COVID-19, you may be eligible. And this includes sole proprietors, independent contractors, and self-employed persons. Also, any small business concern that meets the SBA size standard, either the industry size standard or the alternative size standard. Any business, 501c3 nonprofits, 501c6 veterans organizations, or tribal business concerns. With the greater of 500 employees, or if you meet the SBA size standard, if you have more than 500 employees. And then any business with a Naics Code that begins in 72, that's accommodation in the food services, that has more than one physical location and employs less than 500 people. So at this time, I'm about to turn this part of the presentation over for what I know many of you signed up to hear, and that's walking through the application. Now, remember to continue to add questions in the chat if you have questions as we go through this part of the process. I hope all of you have downloaded and printed a copy of the application. If you joined us since we started, the links to the application are located in the chat. So the service subject matter expert that's going to walk you through this part of the program, as I said before, is Herb Wilkins. Herb is and has been in this field of work for over 40 years in the Memphis community, in the field of accounting and finance. Herb has successfully upheld positions as accountant, chief financial officer, and auditor for many Memphis-based organizations, including LeMoyne College and Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. He is the founder and president and CEO of WABTS Financial and Tax Advisors, where he and his team offer one-stop shop for individuals and small business taxes, accounting, bookkeeping, payroll, and more. We are happy to have him join us today during this part of our presentation. And as I said previously, he will be in one of the chat rooms at the end of this session, not chat rooms, but one of the breakout rooms, where he'll be able to answer your questions directly. I'm very pleased to introduce and present to you Herb Wilkins.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you, Joselle, for allowing me to participate in the MBDA CARES Initiative webinar. Again, my name is Herb Wilkins, And I'd like to just say I commend the participant for taking time out to learn more about the PPP program and how it's going to help your business. First of all, we are delighted to be here and to assist you in whatever manner we can. Today, I'm going to walk you through the Ppp loan application. And just by the way, we have done over $3 million in loan application for our clients beginning last year. So we're very familiar with this process as well as the loan forgiveness side of it. Every loan that we have requested for forgiveness has been approved. So feel free to ask questions. No question is too small. The question you might not ask will help someone. So just remember that. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how we get started with the application. Do not let this be intimidating to you. We're here to help you go through it even after this call and after this webinar is completed. So hopefully you all have the application before you. The first stop is identify the type of entity you are. You're a sole proprietor. What best describe your business? Independent contractor, self-employed. So you check only one of these boxes. The DBA or trade name, if it applies to you, as well as the year the business was established. Remember, the business has to be started before 2020. Your business legal name should be the same name you use in all your licensing, as well as with Internal Revenue Service. It's very important because the lending institution will be verifying your name and how long you've been in existence. If you have not completed your 2020 tax return or you have not completed a Schedule C, this needs to be done. The NAICS code is found above your EIN number on your Schedule C. This code is very important as well. If you do not have a Schedule C, you can Google Schedule C, sole proprietor form, and you can follow along with me when I get to what's going to go on your application. As Joselle said about what and who are included can apply. In the next box, where no more than 500 employees, the SBA industry size standard, SBA alternative size standard, that information, if it applies to you. Be mindful of your address. I know some individuals may be working from home or might be using their PO box, but if you do have a physical address, that is best to be used for the business. You want to be consistent throughout your application. If you list your physical address, keep that address the same. Look at your business license if you were required to have one. The business TIN, the taxpayer identification number, and the EIN, the employer identification number. Some people call it the EIN number or your social security number, as well as your ITIN. This is identifying your business as it relates to the lending institution as well as Internal Revenue Service. List a phone number, not your fax number. You want to list a phone number, so in the event that someone needs to reach out to you, you want to make sure that they are able to contact you at any given time. You also want to have an alternative number, or if that's your primary contact, that can be done also. You may want to also include an email address, and to make certain that you check your spam quite often because some email for the first time will end up in spam. It's very important because they may be offering you information concerning this application or may need it to be corrected. On the bottom, what's that total amount of gross income? This is the income that the business made, which will be reported on line 7 of Schedule C, Form 1040. The 1040 is just the main form. The Schedule C is where your information will be completed. That gross amount for either year, 2019 or 2020, you'll check one of those boxes. The number of employees, including yourself if you are on payroll. For the first-time borrowers, the same information that was just stated, your gross income from Schedule C, line 7 on the IRS Form 1040, that amount will be entered here. Box B. Now you would divide that amount in box A by 12. And whatever that amount is entered here. If that amount is more than $8,333.33, the maximum amount you can put here is $8,333.33. Once you determine that number, then it is then multiplied by 2.5. That amount is going to end up equaling the total amount of your loan request. Now, if you have employees, you will complete the next section. Line 7 of the Schedule C minus, if you have a Schedule C, look at line 14, look at line 19 and line 26. Total these, and you will subtract that amount from line 7. These items are payroll related. Only, no other expense other than payroll. And you enter that amount in this box. Then you would divide that total in box A, if you have an employee, divided by 12. Again, if your total amount in this box exceeds $8,333.33, the maximum amount you will be able to put in this box will be $8,333.33. Your average monthly payroll for employees will be the total amount that your total payroll for the year divided by 12 will give you your monthly payroll cost. It will go in this box. Again, I'm going back through this step again. A would be the total amount of line 7 subtracted from all your payroll related costs from line 14, 19, and line 26. That amount will go here. Then you'll divide that line by 12, and whatever number you get will go in this box, just as long as it does not exceed $8,333.33. You'll look at your payroll report for the year total, and you'll divide that amount by 12, which will be the 12 months. You can find this information in box C on your W-3, your wage and tax statement for your company, or you can find it on the 940 federal unemployment tax form. These amounts will be asked for later and the supporting documentation for those. Now you will add you will add B and C and put that total amount in the next box where you say add B and add C. Then you will multiply that total times 2.5. And then moving to the next section, the purpose of the loan. You want to identify why you're requesting this money. Will be your payroll costs. If you're going to use this money for your rent or your mortgage, or your utility bill, check all boxes that apply. In the next box, you're going to list all the owners of 20% or more of the equity in your company. So if you have someone with 20%, someone with 80%, you want to list the owner's name, the title, and the percent of ownership, as well as their identification number, whether it be your employee EIN number or the Social Security number or your individual taxpayer identification number, and their address, including city, state, and zip. Now, it's important that what you see on the screen is reflecting of the application. Again, there's going to be some questions that I know. Don't be afraid to ask. Where can I find this number? This is what we do at WABTS. We make certain that you understand there's no question too small. There are no questions too complex. We want to make certain that you understand this process, that any money that's available to you, we want you to make certain that you qualify for it. So the documentation that I mentioned earlier, there's going to be forms such as your W-2s, your 941s, which is employer identification showing the gross payroll for those individuals that you paid, as well as your 940 that sums up your total amount of wages paid to your individual for the entire year. This information is supported by your payroll records that you must maintain, because at the end of all of this process, once you approve, these records must be in your possession for at least 6 years. It's important that you keep that in mind, because they may come knocking and you want to make certain that you present this. For the certification, these documentation again explain who's eligible and the type of business you are. This is very important because this is where you're beginning to sign an initial that you provided the correct, honest information, and you are explaining that you will be held responsible for the information that's within this application. These items where you see a blank line, these are where you will place your initial that you read this information and you understand. At the bottom where you assign and print your name, date, and your title. Keep in mind that if you are a sole proprietor, self-employed, and you have employees, then 60% of the loan must be used for payroll. The other 40% can be used for non-payroll items. But again, if your payroll end up being 75%, it's just stating that you must have at least 60% of money spent toward payroll. So here, when you're applying for the loan, lender will typically ask for all of these materials, as I mentioned before. They're going to ask for your ID to make certain that you are who you say you are. The tax document that I mentioned about the W-2s, the W-3s, these are wage and tax statement. The quarterly report, the 941 employer quarterly tax return, your state tax return, showing that you paid the state of Tennessee or the state that your business is located. You have to pay the state unemployment tax. You have to show the type of structure you are. You also have to provide evidence, your business license, the type of agreement, if you're a partnership within your Schedule C, husband, wife, friends that started the business and you're splitting the proceeds 50-50, whoever are owners of this business, you have to provide those documents. And you want to be in good standing, especially with the Secretary of State or the licensing in your state. And just remember, the lender will be verifying everything on the return. So your email, your telephone numbers, your address, they will be responding to you to make certain that this process is smooth. So, and again, that's what we walk through this application, and we're constantly in communication with the banks, the lending institution, as well as the owners. So you will never be left out. So feel free to ask those questions. They are very important. They help us help you. And you want to make certain that no blanks are left on the application. So once the loans are calculated, then you will get, at the end of the process, the anticipated amount of money that you're going to be receiving. We look at step one for 2019 or 20, and what's on your IRS form. And then once you calculate the payroll cost, and the bottom line comes out that if it's over 100,000, it will be reduced to 100,000. So there's a certain limit they will allow you to reach. Then once it's calculated, again, you go step by step. The key is to make certain that the information you start with, if you start with good information, you're going to end with good information. So it must be consistent. So those items that I mentioned about the 940, your W-3, your financial statement, these items must have the same numbers. This way you are assured that your information is accurate and you have nothing to worry about if they ever ask you for documentation, because everything must tie into what's on your application. So it's very important that these are true and accurate. As far as the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, that was made last year between January 31st, 2020 and April the 3rd. Some are asking to seek refinance if it applies to you, but we did not do any refinancing of EIDL for any of our clients. But you must provide the 2019 and 2020 IRS Form 1040 with your application. If it's not complete, you want to make certain that this application and the 1040 form Schedule C is especially for the year that you filed. If you filed already for 2019 and 2020, the information that's being attached to the application must be the same that you submitted with Internal Revenue Service. Now, if you are in the midst of amending your tax return, you may want to seek your tax preparer or whomever did your tax return. If you did and you're unsure, you want to seek out a professional that to make certain that your number is not conflicting with what's on the application and what's on Internal Revenue Service data file. So you want to make certain of that. It's very important that these numbers tie in. I cannot overstress how important this is. And in most cases, they're going to ask you for a proof of bank statement. Hopefully you can provide those. If you have online, you can print those and provide. If not, you might have to request that information from the bank. And if so, you may want to get started early because sometimes it might take longer than you think when you're asking for copies of your bank statements. Again, this is a process that you're going to, these are step-by-step instruction as to how you calculate the loans. That in the first part of the application is showing I had 3 employees, I had 5 employees based on the average of 12 months. This is where you will make certain that every step of the way, this is a step-by-step guide as to how you complete your application as well. And again, you'll have someone with you. You don't have to do this by yourself. And you can hire someone, you can reach out to someone, SBA, but don't try to attempt this by yourself if you do not know how to complete this, especially on the first time. Again, Schedule C, as I mentioned to you on the line 7, your gross income. And then when you have to subtract the employee or payroll related item, it will be line 14, which is the employee benefit program part of the Form 1040 Schedule C. Line 19, and this on your 2019 Schedule C, it's going to show pension and profit sharing plan. If you have that for your employees, then that amount will be added to line 14. Also, the total amount of wages that you're going to include, that's on line 26. So again, for the new PPP loan, they reverse that from the net income to the gross. This is going to put more money or make you more eligible to receive more money using line 7. So again, this is a step-by-step on the Schedule C, which would show what are included in gross income, what items are not, to get to line 7. Again, as I mentioned, 60% of the payroll costs must be for payroll. 60% of the loan must be for payroll. That's the rule. Again, if it goes over 6%, it's not against you, but you want to make certain it does not fall under 6%. If you are a partnership, there's a form of K1. It will show your income there. If no one is familiar with that, you can Google K1 or go to Internal Revenue Service website and ask for a copy of K1. It will go take you through the process. Again, I'm just pointing out the items that are going to may cause some issue. The $100,000 payroll cost threshold, it would not exceed $100,000. That's your limitation. If you are using a payroll service, if you're not doing a payroll yourself, you may have to reach out to your payroll provider, whether it be a company that does payroll for you on a monthly basis. They will provide you with how to calculate the 12-month payroll cost. And once you get that total cost, you'll divide it by 12 and you'll get your average payroll cost. Next. Again, I mentioned to you about make certain your figures are accurate. The government will be watching. They're going to be looking to see how you are spending this money. You may have heard stories about people being sent to jail. You'd have seen, you may know someone or heard of someone. This is true. If you tell the truth, you have nothing to remember. Always documentation, documentation, documentation. You must have documentation. Again, they have ways of knowing if you are not telling the truth. They have ways. I like to just inform clients or potential clients. Don't be trying to obey the 11th commandment. The 11th commandment is thou shalt not get caught. If you're out there following somebody else's guideline, telling you what to do to get this money, they know more about you than you think you do. So you want to make certain everything that you have on the return, you can back it up. Again, the PPP will be extended through March 31st, 2021. For the first time borrower under the new PPP extension will be subject to the program original eligibility rule. You must have less than 500 employees, and your business organization is eligible just as long as it was in business prior to February 15, 2020. To make certain that you qualify, no more than 300 employees. Your business with multiple locations that are eligible and entitled under the PPP require may employ no more than 300 employees per physical location in order to be eligible for the PPP second draw. Again, multiple location, no more than 300 employees per location. And your plan must be to fully use the total amount of your PPP loan. Your accountant will make certain of that. And you must demonstrate at least 25% reduction of your revenue for any given quarter in 2020. So what you would do is compare quarter one in 2020 versus quarter one in 2019. If your income dropped by 25% or more, you're eligible to apply for the second round. Again, it could be any given quarter. That's January through March, April through June, July through September, and October through December. Those are the quarter that you will be comparing 2019 to 2020. Next. Again, the second draw will max out at $2 million for each applicant entity. Again, to calculate the amount of the PPP second draw, the borrower will receive the lesser of an amount of up to 2.5 times the average monthly payroll cost in year one prior to the loan, or calculate the year of $2 million. and you would have that information at the end of the application process. So you would know which one would benefit you, either the 2.5 average monthly cost in year one, or the loan of the calendar year, or the $2 million. A notable exception, the applicant in the accommodation and food service industry as designated by the SBA are eligible to receive a loan for the lesson of 3.5 times the average monthly payroll, or the $2 million. Because that industry was hit so hard, then the 3.5 was increased from 2.5. The extension of the PPP second draw forgiveness. The borrower must allocate at least 60% of the PPP fund for payroll costs. 64 to 60% payroll, 4% other costs, non-payroll costs. The borrower of a PPP second draw loan are eligible for loan forgiveness equal to the sum of their payroll costs, as well as other coverage, mortgage, rent, utility payment, etc. Similar to the tax treatment of the initial PPP loan forgiveness, on the PPP second draw will be non-taxable. Again, this money is non-taxable and 100% forgiven. You want to make certain that 100% of your expenses are documented. All effective of the tax year ending after this date of the associated provision of the bill. You want to make certain that what is stated in your application, you have documentation for. And in the bill that they pass, certain information must be met. You can't have half of it. It must have all of it. Next slide, please. At this time, please submit your question. Again, no question is too small. All questions are very important. You want to make certain that you get your question answered. And in the event that there's your question is too sensitive, that you may want to reach out to someone, I understand.